natanong ko na po sa inyo nung nakaraang plenary yung mga tanong ko tungkol sa PhilHealth at maraming salamat muli sa PhilHealth para sa mga sagot noon. So, tapusin ko na lang, Madam Chair, yung mga tanong ko para sa DOH. So, una po, tungkol sa zero balance billing. Para sa assistance for indigent and financially patients, unfit funds. So, CDBs or aspiration of universal healthcare law, yet in practice, its implementation remains inconsistent. Una po, Madam Chair, pwede mo bang i-clarify ng DOH ano example or sa ilalim ng CDB at paano ito pinapagawa? So, Mr. President, zero balance billing will be applied to anyone who is included in the basic sorry,
Hindi ako na pinapay. Sa karon. Wala mo niya. Wala ko kumakasawa. Kaya ko na ay, saya. Word.
backward collection, and then the backlog, hindi na ibigay for since we passed the law, since we passed the sin tax law 2023 to 2026, kasi may mga kulang. For example, itong binalik sa GAB at kineri ng Senate na 60 billion yung kinuha sa kinuha kinuha sa savings well, sa unused portion ng billion. Kulang yun eh. May 16 billion pa dapat nakasama. And then the 60 billion, the total is almost 300 billion.
And I'm very glad, Madam Chair, na dun pa lang sa unang plenary natin sa mga budget ng DOH and PhilHealth, medyo malawak na po at napakalakas yung intention po natin na siguruhing ang perang utang sa PhilHealth ay ibalik sa kanya. Ang perang naka-earmark sa kanya mula sa mga GOCCs ay mapunta sa kanya at yung kulang sa GAB taon-taon ay ibigay sa kanya para lalong mapaganda ang serbisyo niya sa mga PhilHealth members. Salamat para diyan, Madam Chair. Yung pong dagdag na funding na nirekomenda ng subcommittee para sa LGU hospitals para mapadaloy din sa kanila yung ZBB. Mako-cover ba yan ng isang MOA or marereplicate ba ng DOH yan sa iba pang mga LGU run at private hospitals sa pamamagitan ng isang MOA?
Mr. President, as we mentioned, it is a pilot.
Yes.
So whether they cover it by a MOA or there's guidelines that will apply to all, madali naman din i-settle kung papaano yung process na yon. I wouldn't know if it would require a MOA per hospital or just guidelines because the use of the fund may be standard across all LGU hospitals. So when they launch that pilot, I'm sure they will come up with the necessary documentation to clarify the obligations of the LGU in disbursing the zero balance funds to cover the zero balance billing.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chair. Siguro ang importante lang ay yung prinsipyo na whether may partikular na klase ng ospital sa isang locality, dapat laging namumuno ang DOH kasama ng mga stakeholders niya doon na gawing available yung ZBB. Kumbaga kung yung shell na DOH run hospital ay hindi pa present sa lokal na iyon, basta through any creative means at sa suporta natin dito sa Kongreso, make available those basic or ward accommodations kung saan pwedeng pakinabangan yung ZBB. So, pwede po bang i-confirm ng good share kung yung DOH ay naglalobby para sa isang special provision na nakatali sa utilization ng MAIFIP fund? Tama po ba na 20% ng MAIFIP ay gagamitin sa catastrophic expenses at yung balancing 80% ay allotted sa ZBB implementation sa LGU at private hospitals? Kung confirmed po iyan, kung tama po, ano po yung basis nitong panukala ng DOH, Madam Chair?
Yeah. So, Mr. President, DOH had proposed an allocation for MAIFIP, but this was not approved by the Finance Committee. What we have instead is a proposal that came from the subcommittee, which is the use of the the amount appropriated, the 1 billion, for the implementation of the DOH zero balance billing in local government units. And that the necessary guidelines for the proper implementation would govern the implementation of the program, Mr. President.
Salamat, Madam Chair. So wala pong 20% ng MAIFIP para sa
O yun.
catastrophic
Well, hindi yan
at
na-approve,
80%
Mr. President.
dahil hindi na-aprubahan. Alright, salamat po, Madam Chair. Dahil, salamat sa ganung reassurance dahil bagamat kinikilala ko yung intent ng DOH sa original na proposal niya, restricting most of the MAIFIP fund to support ZBB may have unintentionally excluded large portions of the population. As it stands, MAIFIP serves a specific purpose as a stopgap measure to reduce out-of-pocket expenses and should indeed continue to be treated as government's third way of financing UHC. So, salamat sa komite na nag-reconsider dito sa pag-redesign ng intent at purpose ng MAIFIP through a special provision. And most urgently, Madam Chair, related to the previous manifestation, saan at kanino pwedeng magsumbong o humingi ng tulong ang mga pasyenteng hindi na-cover ng ZBB dahil man sa limitadong bed capacity, stock out o iba pang dahilan, Madam Chair?
Magandang ang tanong yun, kung hindi ka matanggap sa basic accommodation, hindi dahil sa gusto mong dun sa private pero wala, paano nga naman yung ganun, But, so ang sumbungan po is sa 888, the presidential hotline.
Presidential hotline?
Yes
Oh,
po.
wow. So, OP pang, wala po bang lower level sa DOH level, Madam Chair, na sumbungan or hingian ng tulong?
Meron naman din pong hotline ng DOH,
Okay.
pero kung sumbungan, baka napakarami hong magsumbong, mas yung capacity daw ng 888 is higher
I see.
to receive all the complaints.
Okay. Salamat, Madam Chair. Nakakabigla lang kasi I'm sure bukod sa DOH, baka maraming ibang sumbungan kaugnay ng ibang mga departments dun sa presidential hotline na yon. I suppose may internal mechanism doon na mula presidential
Meron daw.
hotline
Yes. I'm
i-delegate sa DOH.
I'm guessing,
Opo.
Mr. President, it's like 911. You can call it for any emergency.
Okay.
I'm just guessing na ganon kasi yung capacity nun to receive
Right.
multiple calls at the same time is high. So I think that's the reason why doon nila dinedirect yung question sa 888.
Salamat, Madam Chair. So, ilang budget concerns mula sa mga advocates?
Yung mga nasa
Yes, Madam Chair.
probinsya, pwede din naman silang mag-complain dun sa regional hospital. Normally may mga poster diyan kung saan magko-complain, pero sabi ni Secretary sa director mismo pwedeng mag-complain.
Alright, well noted, Madam Chair. Maganda rin kung may papel yung mga regional hospitals natin under UHC para sa ganitong napaka-importanting mechanism tulad ng ZBB. And in a way kasi parang siya yung big brother o sister sa mga DOH-run hospitals at pangunahing daluyan din ng ZBB. So, ilang budget concerns nga po mula sa mga advocates. Una, tungkol sa Public Health Emergency Allowance. So the Health Emergency Allowance or HEA was mandated as a form of compensation to healthcare workers who served during the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite multiple allocations and disbursements since 2024, the payment process has been delayed, inconsistent, and or fraught with logistical and bureaucratic challenges. So una po, pwede po bang makakuha ng confirmation kung itong mga figures na babanggitin ko ay tama or pahingi po ng updated information. So tama po ba na yung initial total requirement ay 103.5 billion pesos? Ang amount paid as of January 2025 ay 99.3 billion pesos. Ang balance as of June 2025 ay 4.2 billion pesos plus 8.1 billion pesos in new and appealed claims. At huli, tama po ba na yung remaining challenge ay 8.1 billion pesos invalidated or appealed claims still unpaid due to vetoed budget items or lack of appropriation, Madam Chair?
It is only partially correct, Mr. President.
Okay.
It is true that the deficit was 8.1 billion. However, DBM released 6.7 billion. So the remaining balance is 1.4 billion.
Right. So, at tama po yung naunang figures ng initial total requirement saka amount paid as of January this year, Madam Chair.
So, Mr. President, just to further update, from the balance of 1.4 billion, it is now only 709 million because, and the reason for that is, naglalabas naman si DBM ng pondo. When I checked, at the time we had our hearing, DBM was in the process of releasing. That's why we did not make any recommendation because we were of the view that talagang maglalabas naman siya. Na naglabas naman, kaya lang at least na iwan yung 1.4 and then we're happy to note na nabawasan pa and 709 na lang ang kulang ngayon, Mr. President.
At least malaking, palagay ko, Madam Chair, malayong progress na yan mula
Yes.
dun sa orig na 103.5
Yes.
billion, ngayon 709 million. So, pwede po bang i-certify ng DOH na yung halaga sa post-deadline appeals ay fully validated, na wala nang further claims na tatanggapin? At kung ganon, anong concrete measures ang magsisiguro na yung mga ospital at yung mga LGUs ay i-release yung downloaded HEA funds sa lahat ng natitira pang unpaid healthcare workers, Madam Chair?
Okay. Mr. President, the validation of the 709 million is ongoing, but the deadline for this was October 2024.
All right. So definitely as of now, no
Kasi
further claims to be
From what I
accepted.
know, Mr. President, nakailang extension na rin tayo dyan.
Opo.
Tatlo, to be specific, tatlo.
Okay po. And then, gayong pa man, so anong concrete measures ang magsisiguro na yung mga ospital at yung mga LGUs i-release po yung mga downloaded HEA funds sa mga natitira pang unpaid healthcare workers?
Yun yung bagong mga balance na binigay ng DBM, siguro pwede na nilang i-follow up din kasi dina-download yan sa mga ospital. So yun nga, kung hindi pa nila, kailan ba expected na ma-receive yan?
Nabigay naman. Ma'am, ito na yung disbursement rate. 77% na yung 6 billion. Pinakauli.
Okay, so they've already disbursed 77% of the 6.7 billion, the last tranche.
Okay. So, 23% na lamang po nung 6.7B na yon, Madam Chair, and then yung balance na lang na ngayon ay 709 million. Okay po. At huli tungkol sa paksang ito, Madam Chair, magko-commit po ba ang DOH sa isang final 2026 GAA appropriation para i-fully settle lahat ng validated HEA claims? At magko-commit ba ang department na mag-issue ng joint order na magseset ng final payout timeline, magko-confirm ng eligibility at formal na isasara yung HEA program, Madam Chair?
There's been a request for a special audit, Mr. President, because the deadline set was already October 2024.
Opo. So, ibig sabihin, kahit lahat ng claims ay validated na, is a special audit pa.
All the disbursement has to be audited, Mr. President.
All right po. At pagkatapos ng special audit na yon, magiging posible na ba yung joint order tungkol sa final payout timeline, eligibility at pagsara ng HEA program, Madam Chair?
It depends on the findings, Mr. President.
Depends on the findings. Okay, I guess that's fair enough, Madam Chair. Nga lang dahil nakapagtatlong extension na, siguro there has to be a point in time na magkikwentas klaras na ang DOH sa mga healthcare workers, di po ba? At isasara na yung libro with full justice to the healthcare workers sa serbisyong ibinigay nila sa ating lahat. Kalahating dekada na ang nakalilipas, Madam Chair.
That is correct, Mr. President.
Salamat, Madam Chair. Tungkol naman po sa Bureau of Quarantine, the BOQ, in charge of our public and border health security, requested augmentation from the DOH, 90 million pesos for salaries of contract of service employees and 37.64 million pesos for capital outlay expenditures. Halimbawa, vector control, essential medical equipment, ICT infrastructure at service vehicles. Pwede po bang tanungin ng DOH, ano yung desisyon ng secretary kaugnay nitong mga requests? At i-consider ba ng komite na pag-aralan yung BOQ proposal na palakasin yung functional capacity nila, yung field readiness at institutional resilience nila, Madam Chair?
So, Mr. President, the DBM has allowed the DOH to access some the retained revenue, the retained income of BOQ, but only up to a certain amount. So they're still lacking in funding to be able to fund the JOs. Is that correct? Or the plantilla positions, the increased plantilla positions that are needed. So the subcommittee has actually proposed to increase their MOOE in the amount that was requested, which is 73.88 million. However, the Finance Committee was not able to accommodate this.
I see. So, dun sa total na 127 na request para sa salaries at saka capital outlay, magkano po ang na-access ng DOH sa retained revenue ng BOQ?
Yung automatic appropriation, Mr. President, is 250 million, 250 million, 0.6.
So, more than double, mako-cover sana yung 127 na hiningi nila. Almost double, rather.
But
Chair.
that is not enough, Mr. President. They still need more funding because there are so many new access points that are opening.
Okay po. Pero ibig kong sabihin, apparently, hindi hiningian ng BOQ ang lahat ng halaga na kailangan para sa lahat ng access points kasi 90M lang plus 37M ang ni-request. Ang hiningi nilang augmentation. Kayang-kaya sanang sagutin ng 250M na automatic appropriation.
That's the automatic appropriation, the one I mentioned.
Yes.
So apart from that, they also requested extra.
All right. And of the extra on top of the automatic appro na
Ito po yung sinuportahan natin.
Yes.
Na 73.88 million.
Yes, pero hindi
The
inaprubahan
subcommittee supported it, but our finance committee was not able to accommodate it.
I see. Any chance po there will be a reconsideration bago natin i-approve on second reading ito, Madam Chair?
Tayo po, of course, because I'm handling the health budget, like si Senator JV has some request for funding for, I believe, mental health.
Yes.
Mental health and cancer. I'm not sure if it's one or both, but we wrote it down. If we're happy to recommend this again to the committee, if we have the support of the body, then perhaps it would be supported. We don't know, it's out of our hands.
All right, Madam Chair. Fair enough po. Sige, pag-aaralan din po ng representasyong ito and then makikipag-ugnayan ako sa Chair tungkol dito.
Thank you.
Salamat, Madam Chair. Atras lang para sa isang follow-up question kaugnay nung health emergency allowance. May unprogrammed appropriation ba sa GAB para sa FEBA, yung Public Health Emergency Benefits and Allowances, for as standby funds kung sakaling, pero huwag naman sana, may bagong public health emergencies, Madam Chair?
So there was an amount in the unprogrammed funds under the NEP. But then when it got to the House, they removed it because there was information that DBM released funding. So they removed it.
Pero ngayon, kulang tayo ng
But
708 million.
I don't know, maybe because it's a moving amount, that it was discovered that amount that was given by DBM wasn't enough.
I see. Although, gaya ng sinabi nyo kanina, Madam Chair, at least naibaba yung balance.
Malaki naman ang naibaba.
To 700
Correct. That's
nga lang,
correct, Mr.
hindi na
President.
nakapaglaan ng standby fund para sa yung
Yes.
inaasahan natin hindi mangyayaring mga bagong public health emergencies. All right. Salamat, Madam Chair. Tungkol naman po sa RPRH implementation, despite the RPRH law and the UHC law, millions of Filipino women, especially poorer and less educated women, or less schooled women, still lack access to modern family planning. Unmet need remains high. Many pregnancies are mistimed or unwanted. Contraceptive availability is inconsistent, and financial barriers persist. Adolescents face rising SRH risks, including increasing early pregnancies, higher STI, HIV incidence, and extremely low HPV vaccination rates. Youth also support access to contraception in government facilities. So, paano po sisiguruhin ng DOH at PhilHealth ang reliable, affordable, at widespread access sa modern family planning at SRH services, lalo na para sa mga mahihirap na kababaihan at kabataan, given yung persistent shortages, high unmet need, at rising teen pregnancies at STIs, Madam Chair?
Mr. President, we're told that the reason for the unavailability of the commodities, the family planning commodities, is due to delayed procurement and also delayed distribution. Of course, as far as this representation is concerned, and I'm sure our colleague will agree, that's not acceptable, no? Because at the end of the day, we know that the women and their family and their partners need this urgently.
Apo, talaga.
So, mahirap po itong ganito. Kasi yung isang reason for delayed distribution is due to limiting testing capacity of FDA. Kaya babalik ako because earlier when we had other colleagues interpolating on FDA's delays in all their responses, no, in all the delivery of their task, we know that one of the reason is shortage of manpower, the availability of funding, but they can only access more funding if they submit their 5-year development plan. And so they say that they will be submitting it by December. So
Next
if they do this, sana kasama to sa ma-address. Kasi one of the causes delayed is attributed to FDA's failure to test these commodities, including condom leakage tests.
Yes, Madam Chair. And I hope dito sa pagsagot nila ng mga dahilan, ng mga problema, ang kapatid o kakambal nun ay yung intensyon na i-address itong mga problema by way of
Exactly.
ensuring the
Yes.
implementation of the RPRH law for women and young Filipinos.
We'll ask, because earlier the Deputy Director of FDA was present. The FDA Director is not here, but the Deputy was here. And we also want to get the assurance that they will take this matter urgently, deal with it urgently. Kasi yung testing of again, I'll go back also though, maybe the Secretary can help me out or anyone from FDA. Akala ko ba yung natin, yung registration ng products are based on paper, this is documentation. So if it's already a product that has been cleared in countries with mature regulatory agencies, we don't do testing anymore. So bakit napunta yung dahilan dito na condom leak test?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Or are we buying supplies from China or somewhere that's not known, not have a high standard? The regulatory agency doesn't have a high standard.
And in any case, Madam Chair, at least taon-taon, kahit sa budget plenaries, pinag-uusapan natin ito. So, it signals clearly, consistently sa DOH at PhilHealth na abiding concern natin ito, na napopondohan ito taon-taon so that may resources ang ang UHC system natin na patuloy na tugunan yung reproductive health needs ng ating populasyon, Madam Chair. At huli sa paksang ito, Madam Chair, anong mga...
Mr. President,
Yes,
I
Madam
want the
Chair.
record to show na nagkakamot ako ng ulo. Kasi napapagod ako sa mga sagot na naririnig ko. Hindi ko alam kung bakit pa kailangan itest. Kasi kung nanggagaling naman yan sa reputable source from a country that has a mature regulatory agency, hindi naman kailangan mag-test.
Perhaps we could also ask them to submit this concern in writing, Madam Chair, at pwede pong tignan din ng Senate Committee on Health.
Yes, we will do that. Anyway, don't want to
Salamat,
waste
Madam
our
Chair.
time because the night is late, but I hope to get an answer within the evening, but we'll also ask it in writing because it is a concern that we both share, Mr. President.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chair. At huli, sa paksang ito, anong mga konkretong programa at budget commitments para sa 2026 ang iimplementa ng DOH at PhilHealth kasama sa mga eskwelahan, barangay health centers para palawakin yung contraceptive availability, palakasin yung adolescent SRH services at i-address yung mga barriers tulad ng gastos, facility access at consent para sa mga minors, Madam Chair.
Meron pong document ang Disease Prevention and Control Bureau ng DOH on Adolescent Health Program. We can give Her Honor a copy, but just to highlight, they have 963 LGUs with at least one certified AFHF, that is the Adolescent Friendly Health Facility. They have 18 highly urbanized cities with 100% of all their health facilities that are adolescent friendly, and so on and so forth. They have Adolescent Job Aid 2.0 Skill Enhancement Training. This is the National Training of Trainers. Yun, so na-roll out na yan in all 16 regions. And then they have the Accelerated and Integrated Management Guidelines for Healthy Adolescents and Young Ones. The A+ idea, which is an official social and behavioral communication platform, Adolescent Health Learning Exchange, and the Comprehensive Action Plan in Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention, as with DOH as the lead agency. So we can give this to Her Honor, and then if she has further questions, we can ask the DOH to provide us with more details.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chair. Highly appreciated. So, huling tanong ko na lang po para ngayong gabi, Madam Chair, tungkol sa UNAIDS country office request para sa assistance. Last September, I filed a Senate resolution urging the DFA and DOH to extend support to the UNAIDS country office to sustain its operations and strengthen the implementation of the Philippines' HIV and AIDS response. The Secretary of Health is fully aware of the situation. The country office has been reduced to a single staff member, limiting its ability to effectively support stakeholders in implementing a coordinated and impactful response. The UNAIDS Executive Director requested 22 million pesos annually from the Philippine government through the DOH until such time that international funding is stabilized. So, pwede po bang makakuha ng confirmation mula sa DOH kung bakit tumanggi silang mag-provide ng technical assistance sa UNAIDS at kung pwede silang mag-commit sa ganong suporta sa fiscal year 2026 at hanggang hindi na yon kailangan, halimbawa para sa 3 taon pa, Madam Chair.
Actually, Mr. President, the request for assistance is to support 5 individuals that work for UNAIDS. So hindi ma-accommodate, DOH cannot accommodate it because by nature we cannot just give funding to an international agency for their staffing requirements. But DOH is more than happy to work with the individuals. They're willing to hire them actually as DOH employees. Kasi are these Filipinos? Mga Pilipino naman kasi to. Pero they are hired by UNAIDS at 22 million for 5 people. So medyo iba yata yung Iba yung salary, medyo malayo yata sa sa budget ng DOH, pero support naman sila dun sa objective na mabigyan ng trabaho itong mga nawalan ng trabaho, support dun sa trabahong ginagawa nila, pero hindi sa paraan ng pagbigay ng 22 million sa UN AIDS, Mr. President.
I see, Madam Chair. No, I understand kailangan namang mag-operate ang bawat department ng ating gobyerno sa
Within
sa
their
ating
means.
sariling
Yes.
opo, at saka sa sarili din nating rules.
Yes.
Pero baka pumwedeng maghanap ng ibang proper na paraan ang Department of Health and actually ang DFA din kasi pareho ko silang in-address dun sa resolution na masustain lang ng UNAIDS Country Office yung operations nila. Kasi sila rin ay tumutulong sa gobyerno natin para palakasin yung implementation ng ating HIV and AIDS response. In fact, technical assistance ang term na ginamit sa assistance na hinihingi. Hindi ko alam na 5 staff lang ang susuportahan ng 22 million annually. Pero baka pwedeng one more try ang DOH at kung kaya nilang tanungin ng DFA kung pwede rin silang one more try. And additionally, Madam Chair, dahil yung resolution ko ay referred sa Finance Committee, I hope that our Chair could help also try to find ways to commit and support the UNAIDS Country Office as part of our international commitment to the Sustainable Development Goal on HIV and AIDS, Madam Chair.
This representation would like to offer full support for the programs
Salamat, ma'am.
that were initiated or that are being supported by UN AIDS. Pero medyo mahirap po yung hinihingi nila. It might be violative of our own rules. As Her Honor says, our government has our own rules. Kasi yung sabi niyong technical, it's staffing, Mr. President. And I don't know this as personal information. It is the information provided to me by DOH. So if it's staffing, hindi ho ako pwede mag-appeal sa kanila kasi naiintindihan ko po yung limitations nila. Unless there is some miscommunication or some lack of information there, I have to be, I do support that position that di sila makapag-provide ng 22 million for staffing. Pero the programs, we can Her Honor can move to add budget to our AIDS Council and anything else that Her Honor deems necessary, and I would be happy to support it. Pero yun yung means natin, hindi yung staffing needs ng isang international organization. Tsaka binanggit din ni Secretary na we have international commitment fund and hindi kasama ito eh. I don't know kung they will appeal na masama yan for next year kasi it has to be budgeted through the NEP.
Well, yun, Madam Chair, certainly, gaya ng nasabi ko kanina, of course, we always must follow our rules. Iwan ko na lang sa huling appeal ngayong gabi, kung pwedeng bigyan lang ng second look ng DOH kung paano properly posibleng mag-partner with the UNAIDS Country Office sa usaping iyan ng technical assistance. So iwan ko na lang muna sa ganon for now.
For the
Madam
record,
Chair.
tinititigan ni Secretary yung briefer para maka third, fourth, and fifth look pa siya.
Ay,
Kasi
wonderful. Salamat,
nakikinig
Madam
naman siya sa concern.
Can the DOH absorb the work being done by UNAIDS, Madam Chair?
Mr. President, sinabi na po ni Secretary kanina, na-relay ko na willing talaga sila to absorb these employees. Pero on terms that are also within the budget of DOH and all their other hardworking staff also, Mr. President.
Yes, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat para doon at kay Secretary din. So, bilang pagsara, Madam Chair, Mr. President, Madam Chair, colleagues, today's discussion reminds us of a simple truth. Universal healthcare is not a slogan, it's a promise. And the promise is only as real as the resources we commit to fulfill it. PhilHealth cannot protect our people if government should refuse to meet its obligations. Hospitals cannot serve if we drain their capacities. Our communities cannot thrive if we should leave the most vulnerable to fend for themselves. So my appeal is clear. Let us correct the shortfalls, restore what was withheld, and invest boldly in the health and dignity of every Filipino. Dahil walang Pilipinong dapat mapabayaan. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thanks everyone.